Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My 54 male's daughter, 23 female, was supposed to get married in the winter this year. She and her boyfriend, we'll refer to him as Alex, have been together for a while now, about 5 years I think. My daughter and I have always had a good relationship and I have always supported her choices. And Alex was hence accepted into the family without question. Around COVID time, Alex lost his job and has struggled to find his footing since then. My daughter works as a teacher and those wages cannot really support both of them. I had even offered to speak to people at my company and try to get him a job there, but he refused, saying that he doesn't want to work for big corporations and that it goes against his beliefs. Which is fine, to each his own. That led me to intervene in the only way remaining, and I had to dive into our savings and help them out whenever they fell on extra difficult times. Anyways, a month ago, Alex came to me separately and voiced his concerns over financing the wedding and how he has found a beautiful venue to surprise her with and that he wants it to be the perfect day for the both of them. He had a genuinely heartfelt appeal, and I had no qualms about paying, but this would put a major dent in my savings and delay my retirement plans considerably. And since I'm already wheelchair-bound due to my chronic arthritis, I had some worries. At the same time, I knew my employment would never be in any danger. I have a really good relationship with my company, and since Alex is going through a hard time, which also impacts my daughter in many ways, I thought it would be best to give them a jump start on this, and I agreed to pay for the wedding no matter how big or small they would want it to be. I paid Alex whatever I had on hand for any initial payments so he can get their wedding plans rolling, and in the meantime, I told him he can use my details for any further wedding-related billings and I would take care of it. 2 weeks ago, I received a major bill for a pending full payment on this woodland wedding venue. I initially didn't really understand what type of venue it was and who would even use such a place. But I looked at their website and services and apparently it was a very beautiful, well-reviewed venue. My only concern was my state of being, and I realized after looking at the pictures that I would not be able to spend an entire day there at all, considering how wheelchair inaccessible that place really looked. Before even talking to Alex about this, I called up the venue as well to ask if it would be possible for someone using a chair to attend and be fine throughout the processions they have. And they told me it would not be possible since it involves a hike and everything along with what the terrain is like. This felt like a major oversight to me on Alex's part, since he's been around me for years now, and it's not something people so easily forget. I called him and told him about the bill I received and how the venue was not suitable place because I would not be able to attend given their accessibility issues. And as my only child's only remaining parent, I most certainly would need to attend this wedding. His responses were not at all what I expected because he went on a full speech about how this is a beautiful location and that he and my daughter both fell in love with this place and that it's their wedding. I asked him what his plan was then to accommodate my part in the day because the venue straight up said it would be extremely difficult to do so. He didn't really have an answer for that and said he has made a hefty deposit on the place, mind you, with the money I gave him, and that it would be a waste to let that go since it's non-refundable. I told him that's not the biggest problem as long as everyone's happy at the end of the day. He then says he shouldn't have to change their entire wedding day to cater to one person and that I would be throwing a wrench in their plans. I was really taken aback because I'm not some random person and I deserve to see my only daughter down the aisle. I immediately called her next to demand some explanation over this, and it turns out she had no part in this at all. In fact, she didn't even know what venue he had chosen, because she had left some planning to him and he was saving it as a surprise for her. This pissed me off immensely, because if he really cared about my daughter, he would know that she would want me at her wedding no matter what. More than that, I really just wanted to chalk this up as misjudgment on Alex's part and that hopefully we could move on, get a different venue and forget this whole thing. But when I called him again later that day, he doubled down on his part and accused me of interfering in his relationship and making things difficult for him and my daughter. They were fighting over this whole thing and he blamed it all on me. At that point, I realized what kind of man Alex really was. I told him I'm not funding the wedding anymore, and if he wants to get that venue, where I would not be able to attend, he can do so on his own dime, and I hung up. Am I the a-hole? Update. So my daughter came over for the weekend and I had a really long talk with her about all this, and most importantly, her relationship with that man. She has decided to take a break from Alex to figure things out, and I trust in her ability to do so. I have not talked to Alex since then, although he has left me a bunch of voicemails. But it's clear he's not someone reasonable. In any case, I have decided not to finance a wedding in this way where I'm not even respected or treated like a burden. My daughter agrees, and at this point it's almost certain there would be no wedding in future for the two of them. You're not the a-hole, OP, Alex is. I would honestly say your daughter dodged a bullet with this one. How could a man who claims to love her not know that she would want you to be at her wedding no matter what? It's crazy how he decided to not have you at a wedding that you will be paying for, and yet he thinks you're the problem. Your daughter deserves a better man, and you deserve a better son-in-law. Alex can go pay for the venue and get married to himself. Story 2. So, my brother just got kicked out of boarding school for not respecting authority, no sense of privacy, and obsession with terrorism. He also beat up a kid because the kid liked Thomas the Tank Engine, and my brother thought it was childish. In the school that we went to together, I still go to this school. He stole $600 from a teacher. My mom is mentally abusive to me, and if I don't do something to the highest standard, I'm always put down and humiliated. Even if I do something well, my mom always goes, but insert friend's name, son daughter has done X, Y, or Z. Why can't you? So all the expectations are on me. With my brother, it's like my parents aren't even surprised. I feel incredibly disappointed that someone from my family was kicked out of school and will probably have to go to stupid school. This is humiliating for me because I now have very high standards, and I feel upset that my mom always expects so much from me, but this doesn't apply to him. I've stopped replying to his texts. They are very rare anyways. He only messages me dumb, funny things about games or just says, "How are you?" and then doesn't come back for a week. So now I'm ignoring him. I know he's my brother, but I think that if I don't want to talk to someone, then I have the right not to. OP, unfortunately, your parents are doing a really poor job of raising you and your brother. They shouldn't just leave your brother alone. They should help him get on the right track no matter how long it takes. They also shouldn't put so much pressure on you. It's making you resentful. I hope you and your brother can have a better relationship. Don't ignore him. You're like the only person in his life right now who thinks he can do better, so don't give up on him. I wish you both well. Now for some comments. Yeah, you are the a-hole. You and your brother have to deal with neglectful and abusive parents from what it sounds like. Your brother is acting out because he's been raised terribly. He needs you to steer him back on track. A little, yeah. It sounds like the problem lies with your parents and the difference in the way they treat you and your brother, rather than your brother himself. That said, you can't be blamed for being pissed off with him, and it doesn't sound like he's making loads of effort anyways. So who knows? Maybe you're absolutely in the right. My situation growing up was similar. I was the oldest, ergo, it was my job to be responsible and successful and set an example. The pressure was too much to put on a kid, and it led to me feeling more like I'm raising the kids than my parents. Ultimately, the parents are to blame, but that doesn't excuse you acting like a dildo. It's not your responsibility to keep your brother on track. But don't shun him for being a product of his upbringing, especially since you're clearly a product of yours. Your brother is likely the only one who understands and agrees with you in this situation. You need to have each other's backs. Story 3. Background. I've been with my boyfriend for just short of 2 years. During this time, he's had a lot of trouble enforcing boundaries with his female friends. Affection, playing the field, cuddling, overnights, etc., which we've had numerous discussions over. One friend in particular sets the alarm bells off for me. This particular friend doesn't seem to care that he's in a relationship and routinely flirts, asks him on dates, bulldozes over our plans so she can spend time with him, and tries to monopolize his attention every time we're together. As for his part, he doesn't set boundaries with her and seems to enjoy the attention. He's not very clear that he's in a relationship and oftentimes will flirt back and make plans with her under the guise of it being friendship. Finally, I've almost broken it off several times prior due to her trying to drive me out of the relationship, so he can be single again, but never quite had the balls to go through with it. Fast forward to tonight, she's trying to chat with him as per usual, and to his credit, he's ignoring her. He leaves the room and I see their chat window pop up with hearts and wink emojis. I decided to snoop because F it. In the 30 seconds I scrolled through their history, there were comments about how he was looking for other women and her encouraging him, her making plans to spend the day with him for his birthday, him not mentioning me at all, her saying he needed love and generally being very inappropriate. All of this just in the past day. I didn't snoop further. I get to a part where they're talking about some party with attractive women, and he says, I need a goth girlfriend. She says, I don't think we know any goths, but I'll help you find one. That was the final straw for me. I stopped scrolling, grabbed my things, and left without an explanation. This chick isn't a friend. She's relentlessly bent on sabotaging us. As far as he goes, the mere fact that he, 1, wouldn't make it extremely clear to this girl that he's in a committed relationship, and her comments and behavior towards him are inappropriate, and 2, that he would actively entertain looking for other women and that she, as a friend, wouldn't step in and say, hey, aren't you taken? I'm done. Maybe I don't even care if I'm the a-hole here. I'm done. Now for some comments. You're definitely not the a-hole. Your boyfriend seems to be actively looking for other girls to flirt, date, or hook up with. This friend isn't sabotaging your relationship so much as your boyfriend seems to act like he's in an open relationship. Actually, the friend's actions make a lot of sense if she believes he's in an open relationship. She's asking him on a date 1 minute and trying to hook him up with someone else the next. The question is if you're an a-hole for leaving the relationship, but most of your vitriol seems to be directed at the friend. Do not be mistaken, this is 100% his fault. You should be much angrier with him and never speak to him again. He was not in a relationship with you. He told his friend so much. His behavior as described really reads like you two were not seriously together at all. What a jerk. Sounds exhausting. I've heard of this with genders flipped. Here's the thing, you aren't dumping him over one message, you're dumping him over repeated lack of boundaries. I admit it's a fine line in asking people to basically cut out their friends, but it sounds like he's too immature to know what he wants. Let them burn out as a couple, and try your best to be in a happier relationship when he comes crawling back.